Welcome back to Roads, Rocks, Weeds, and Soil. This is the podcast where we navigate life's bumps, bruises, detours, and opportunities with wisdom and faith. Today we're diving into the wavy and sometimes petty and shallow waters of forgiveness. If forgiveness were easy, we'd all be walking around like we had amnesia, unbothered, right? But for some of us, it truly does feel like we have a photographic memory, and it's on this loop repeat of just all the hurt and all the pain. So that's exactly why I brought in our LMFT, Adrianne Wagner. She's a therapist, a trauma therapist, who helps people kind of navigate and move forward with clarity in terms of trauma and just past transgressions, I guess, technically is what we can say. Before we get into it, Adrianne, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this area of trauma recovery and just wanting to help people, heal?
Yeah, so it was actually I feel like most therapists they just kind of get in, they're not really sure where they're going once they get in. They just want to help people somehow. So I started working with kids and families. That didn't really seem fit well for me. And then I started working more with women, just with overwhelm and things like that. But the more that I started getting clients that were really struggling with past stuff, from their childhood, with their parents, it was this is where it was at, because that's what was keeping them stuck a lot of the times, and being able to help them heal from that is just life-changing. So once I started doing that, I was this is the area that I want to grow and specialize and continue to dive into. So
that is pretty awesome, because I was a high school teacher, and it's funny because that's really what kind of led me into this, because I taught writing. And so I would actually kind of do a whole writing semester where we would just kind of write to heal, right? And so just kind of letting them dig into it, I was like, wow, this is good. Yes. I don't want to be a therapist. but this is good, So as we start, I want to welcome our new subscribers. Welcome. So those of you that don't know, Roads, Rocks, Weeds, and Soil, the title itself is based on the parable of the sower. It's biblical. And it's basically talking about a farmer who's kind of throwing out these seeds, right? And the farmer, metaphorically, is Jesus. And he's throwing out these seeds, and they hit the pavement. Some of them hit this rocky ground. Some of them hit, an area where there's soil, but is weeds also. But then they eventually hit the fertile soil. And so that is the job of this podcast, to kind of help us get to the fertile soil, right? And so that brings us to the heart of today's discussion about the fertile soil for just cultivating the goodness in order to be able to forgive, right? So we all know that forgiveness is not a one-size-fits-all journey, right? Everyone is going to take their own route, be it scenic, be it, the detour, be it running out of gas, just I'm halfway there, I think I can do it, I can't make it, right? And some people might side on me when I say this, but I do feel like it's not about the process. I feel like it's the destination, getting to the healing part is more important than the actually trying to, how you get there. And so you might have something different to say, and I accept that. You're the therapist.
I don't hate that, because I think the process of getting there, it can be so bumpy and rocky and backwards and all over the place, but getting there, no matter how long it takes, can just be life-changing, and not for necessarily the relationship or the other person that you're working to forgive, but for yourself.
Yeah. And like I said, I feel like people are no, you hear all this stuff all the time. It's about the process.
Right.
I'm
this might be one time. This might be one time where it's really getting there is where it's at.
Okay. Yeah. So it leads me to another point, that forgiveness is often misunderstood, right? Clearly we can have different perspectives, but I want to get the therapist's opinion on this. What is the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation? Because a lot of people are well, I gotta help us out here.
Okay. All right. So forgiveness is, for me, and there might be different opinions depending on where you're at, but for me, forgiveness again is about yourself and not necessarily the other person. And it's getting to a place where you don't hold any ill will. Maybe you even have some love and goodness, compassion for that other person, but really you're letting go of any anger, resentment, expectation, around whether they could have done something different. They didn't. They hurt you. You may or may not reconcile with them, but you're letting go of all of that baggage that only you're carrying, that's only taking up the space in your head, causing your body to react. Reconciliation happens when the other person hears you, they get it, they want to also enter into a different relationship with you. And you might continue a relationship. Forgiveness doesn't mean you're going to continue a relationship. It just might mean no ill will, but I'm going to stay over here and you can stay over there.
Okay, so this is good. Colossians 3:13. Bear with each other, like put up with each other, just enough though. You know, you don't have to keep going.
Right.
Forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Okay, so basically it's saying the same thing you just said. Give them grace. You know, give them the same grace that God gives you. But you don't have to, you know, it's nice if you do. If you do reconcile, it's okay, folks. You know, but don't feel the pressure to try to reconnect and put something back together that might be forever broken.
Right. It might be harmful. And why would you want to continue to put yourself in harm's way?
Yeah.
If the other person is not willing to change and be different or can't change and be different, why do you need to keep putting yourself in harm's way? You don't. It might just be you're better off separate.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that because sometimes that's important.
I mean, and you know what? And a lot of people feel that like, oh, it wasn't that bad, or it wasn't their fault, or I can understand why, or all of these excuses why they want to forgive. And again, like that might be the route you take depending on the circumstances, or sometimes, but there comes a point where it's like, where are my needs in this?
And I think that's the next question that I'm leading to, like, where are your needs, right? And so how difficult in therapy, like your clients, how difficult is it for some of these clients or just people in general, me, you know, for us to accept that forgiveness is not just about, you know, us, or that it is more so for us than it is for them, I guess is the right way to say that.
So if I'm understanding correctly what you're saying, I think the idea behind forgiveness, sometimes people think I'm letting like the other person off the hook, or I'm saying it's okay. And that's not at all what's happening. I think you're meeting them. And again, circumstances are different depending on the situation, but you might be saying like, okay, I get it. Like they made a mistake, or I could see why they would have done X, Y, and Z, but it's not saying it's okay. Like have at it, do it again. It's just saying, I get it. I can understand it. Still not okay.
And so, but do the clients specifically, like, or people in general, like, do they actually get that it's going to help them more than, like?
I think so. I think they can get there. I think some people come in and and they're like, no, like I'm not like, why would they do X, Y, and Z and like get angry? And like I'm gonna be the one that carries on.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting to, because I feel like some people think that it is just easy, like, oh, you know, let it go, you know, like it's not that easy for some people, you know. It's like it's hard.
It's hard.
And there's a lot of, with that hardness though, you know, we kind of have to move forward and let it go, because the baggage, you know, it is this mental, it's this emotional, it's this, you know, just physically and spiritually, of course, right? Just kind of holding us down. So what are the common myths about forgiveness that kind of makes people duck and dodge the boulders, you know, like that, like what is the myth is like stopping them from saying, I'm not going to forgive. Like this is just here.
I think the biggest thing that I see is the idea that the other person's getting off the hook, or that the other person's going to be right, especially if the other person is not
going to be right.
Right? If the other person's defensive, if they don't really see what they did wrong. Now, if you forgive that other person, and this does happen where they're like, told you so. And that's really hard to sit with.
What do you do when they do that? You just have to, what Michelle Obama said, you got to go high when they go low. Like, that's really hard to do, you know? Because, you know, I'm gonna save that for
Yeah.
another day.
No, it is. It's really, really hard because the idea of the perception of yourself, and especially if that person's going to go run around and tell their story to other people, and you're having to sit there holding like your truth and like the truth of what happened, and like, like I forgave them for me. It did not mean that they didn't do what I'm saying they did, or that they didn't hurt me, or that it wasn't okay. But again, how much energy are you going to spend? Going around to defend
because
yourself?
it goes back to that resentment that you hold on to, like how, and maybe you do or don't know statistics or anything, but how harmful is it to hold on to that stuff, like physically? Like, what does it do to us? You know, because I can start off junk news, but you know,
I mean, I
real news here.
So, I mean, I don't have the scientific specifics around that. However, it is like that anger, resentment is like anger, like day after day after day, and when you get in your head and you're just like spinning, and your body's going into a stress response. So like the heart rate, the sweating, the ruminating thoughts, that is harmful over time. When anger's good. Don't get me wrong, anger is good. It tells us that something is up.
Get
something.
mad.
Yeah, get mad. I help clients get mad when they should be mad, because it propels us to say,
I think I'm gonna
need
come to
to
you.
Right, like the anger tells us something's not right here. Like I have been hurt in a way that's not okay. Something is not okay here. Now I need to do something about it. When you're angry day after day after day, it starts to wear on your body. It starts to wear on your relationships, the way that you're showing up to the people that are treating you well, that you do want to have good relationships with.
And you can get skinny.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it affects your gut. You don't want to eat the food's making you sick, and you're like, no, thank you. Yeah.
But there's a time and a place for everything, right? It's like Ecclesiastes literally says that 3:1 Ecclesiastes, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the sun, under the heavens, right? So, you know, it's like I listened to this song by this guy, his name is Ty Tribbett, and the song is called Only One Night, though, right? And it's like, you know, you can get mad, you can get stressed out, but it's like, just do it for one night. And as you know, it's metaphorical. It doesn't mean just for the night, of course. But I mean, it's even like, you know, I guess 40 days. Like 40 days or 40 nights, right? You know, because I think about, there's another spot in the Bible where John the Baptist is actually murdered, right? His head is chopped off, this whole gruesome thing. But that was like Jesus's homie, okay? And so, but Jesus is in the midst, you know, he's done on earth, and he's in the midst of trying to, you know, get people to come and understand and become followers. And in the midst of all of this guy, his homie, gets murdered, you know, and the people come and tell him like, yo, they just killed John the Baptist. And he is like, okay. So he goes away and he prays for like barely a night. And he comes back. But I say all that to say, you know, Jesus was perfect. We do have to mourn, you know, we do have to mourn whatever it is. And you do have to be upset or angry and, you know, these things. But we don't want them to be for longer than the moment. Right. You know, I mean, yeah.
I think that where some people get stuck too is they think that being angry or being sad or being whatever it is too hard. They want to say like, no big deal, or X, Y, and Z, this is why it's okay. And they're stuck, because truly what the emotional response is, I'm pissed. Like, I'm so angry. And they need to feel that so that they can get to the other side of it, whether it's a night, a day, a week, 40 days. If you are ignoring that feeling and pretending it doesn't exist, it's going to stay.
Okay, sorry, y'all, sidebar. This is like my life right now. So listen, I was molested as a kid, right? I hate to have to say this like every time, but it always comes up when I hear something good, because I have to get my little free therapy session in, right? So listen, I didn't tell anyone about this for years. And I promise you, what you just now said resonates like so. It's like, ding, 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 ding. It was like, no big deal.
Right.
Like, whatever. Like, it happened. Who cares? Like, I mean, I'm over it. Like, why are you crying over that? You know? And it took me so long to actually acknowledge that I was not forgiving this person, because I was ignoring it more than anything. And even once I started kind of accepting what happened, I kind of fell into this other spot, you know, the rocks, where it was just like, you don't deserve it. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it, but why would I forgive him? Like, give me a reason. Like, I didn't have a reason. So, thank you. What should I do about that?
So how do you get to like that anger?
Yeah.
I mean, I think allowing yourself to feel that and allowing the little girl to express that and however she needs to. And a lot of times when things have happened to us in childhood, the way it comes out when we allow it to come out in adulthood doesn't feel right, because one, it feels way too big, way too childish. We throw in a temper tantrum, yelling, because that's the little girl. And that's okay. So let it out. Let it out.
And how do we navigate? Because again, I said I was 20 something before I ever told anyone. You know, I mean, I might have told like a cousin maybe in my late teens or something. But how do you help your clients navigate the timing, you know, so that they don't feel pressured? I mean, you know, because I didn't feel any pressure at all. But, you know, like, when is the right time? I know you said you kind of make them get angry, right? But it's like, when is the right time to let it go or to hold on a little bit longer and, you know, sit with it, as my other girl said. So
I think, you know, it's part of it is like helping them have like the full experience of whatever it is. So a lot of times it might be helping them get into that anger because I know that's like underneath, or I know that's appropriate. Like when horrible things happen, you should be angry. I just had this conversation with someone who was describing something awful, and they're like, I'm like, oh, like when you say that, like what's going on? How do you feel? Like, yeah, it's frustrating. And I'm like, can I share with you? Like, I'm mad. Like I'm so angry, and to help people like uncover the full like spectrum of the emotions that they're allowed to experience, because I think sometimes like, no, like I can't do that, it's not safe, I'm not allowed, whatever the messages might have been. But so helping them experience that, and in doing that, most times it happens in a way that feels like the time is appropriate, at a good speed. If it feels like they're holding on to it, let's say you're in a relationship and your partner cheats on you, and you're angry and you can't let it go, and it's going on for like even a time for you feel like this is like too much. Why am I still feeling like
get over it myself,
right. A lot of times it could be connected to something earlier. Could be you're linking something up unconsciously, and that
everything is connected to your childhood.
Yes, pretty much. But then it might be like, all right, let's dig in. Let's see if there's anything else back there that's like getting in the way here. But I think allowing people to feel how they feel and really feel how they feel will help move through at a time that is.
Yeah, because I mean, otherwise you're just the weeds, right? So look, we're going into the weeds and just getting bogged down with these things that just kind of our own belief systems also, right? That just kind of hold us down. So sometimes we do want to forgive, but we get tangled in this resentment, the anger, or even just a sense of justice, right? That keeps us stuck. And it's like you just now said about the ex, right? Wanting to forgive the ex, right? But every time you see that white t-shirt that he's wearing, right? You don't just see a nice, clean, crisp white t-shirt. You see the makeup stains and the glitter and the lipstick. And you know, that shirt, that scene happened almost a year ago. Yeah. But let them put on that white t-shirt, and that's all you see is that. What do we do about those triggers? I mean, because those are weeds. That is, I want to heal. I want to forgive. I'm over. This is dumb. I don't care. Do whatever you want. You know. Yeah. Right. We're not even together anymore. Right. But when I see it, you know, when you see it, how do you stop those triggers?
Okay, so this could be a tough one, but I think, and this is going to sound so simple, but it goes back to when you see it, acknowledging what is happening for you. So whether you are pulled right back and you're so sad, or you're so angry, or whatever it is, just, I'm seeing that and it's reminding me of this, and I am like livid. Or I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like crushing my soul. Just acknowledging it and allow yourself, like when we have an emotion, it's a physical reaction in our body. It is. If we just allow that physical reaction to happen and just like, I'm pissed, like I don't understand it, or maybe like I don't like it, or whatever it is, just, okay, this is what's happening. It's done. And most of the time you move on and you're able to get back into, it's like, go watch your show or whatever. Song I remember, it's written all over your face. Because I promise you, my face is like the nose scrunch. It's like I just smelled something like, you stink. It's like the nose scrunch. So
I guess that is the one thing, just trying to, like you just said, just take it in. The face just happened.
Yes, it happens.
It's okay.
Right.
We're
It
going to
makes
get
sense
to
you
a
feel
point
this
where the
way.
face isn't going to happen anymore, and it's just time.
Yeah, I think
Just
most
gonna
of the
take
time it's
time.
just time to say, like, it makes sense that you feel this way. That was really painful what happened.
Yeah.
And then go about your life.
All right. Well, going about your life, moving into the next one. What about when you have your family and your friends telling you you need to get over it, you know, and you're not ready, and you are trying to move according to your own time, but you have, you know, example, not me, example where, you know, you've lost someone, you know, and maybe it was, you know, a violent situation or what have you. And it is going to take a long time for you to heal. It is going to take you a long time to forgive someone for hurting, you know, your loved one, so to speak. But then you have other people who have experienced it, the same thing, you know. So I don't know, your cousin was murdered, right? And your aunt is over it, you know, that was her son, so to speak, right? But you are not, and you're angry, and you're not ready to forgive, you know, and, you know, your aunt, maybe she's a devout Christian, you know, and she's just like, oh, you gotta forgive, and, you know, whatever her process is, she went through it. But your process is different. What do you do when you have that pressure from your people, and, you know, you're just trying to get through your life, but these people are like, girl, why? Stop crying already.
Right.
And I'm guilty of that. I mean,
right. And I think most often it comes from such a good place because they don't want to see you hurting anymore.
Yes.
They just want you to get to the other side of it. So I think that can be helpful to keep in mind. But also, I mean, hopefully, if you're able to tell them, like, I'm dealing with it my own way, or I'm my own person, even though we've had the same experience, or the same event has happened to both of us, we're experiencing it differently because of who we are, our personality, our past experiences. We're all experiencing this differently. And hopefully they could just give you a little bit more space. And if not, at least you can give yourself more space and know that that's their process and they want the best for you, but they don't know what's best for you. You know what's best for you. And you know, some people who quickly get over things, like, I don't trust it. I don't trust it.
You don't trust me.
No.
You're a liar.
I think it can be that. And maybe you don't have the capacity right then, now, ever. I don't know. But I think when a lot of times people can just like shove it way on down. And that's not necessarily healing. But some people take a little longer. Some people just feel more deeply than other people, and it takes them a bit longer, and that's okay.
I think I'm a stuffer. I think I stuff it, and then it'll just hit me somewhere, maybe a year from now. So I just lost my grandma, right? And my cousin was at the funeral, and my cousin, she loves grandma. Right? My grandma was 102 years old. We all knew my grandma was going to die soon, right? I mean, she lived an amazing life. She was an awesome lady. And we were at the funeral. My cousin is up there, and she's speaking, you know, and she just starts crying. And I was like, girl, why are you crying like this? Like, what is wrong with you? But after I said it, I felt, I love you, cousin. And I felt like I shouldn't have said that, you know, like this is her process, and she really misses her granny, you know, and it wasn't fair for me to say it. So I'm sorry, girl. But, you know, I have definitely been that person, and so what do I do to stop doing that? Like you said, just let them have their
let them have their experience, and you have yours, and that's okay, and it's just different. I remember at my grandfather's funeral, he was like the mayor of the town. Everybody loved him. Same thing, lived like a great life, and like I'm just sobbing, and I turned to my sister, and she's just like,
I'm your sister,
and I turned, and I was like, are you a stone? And it's like, we're just so different. Like, we just carry different, and it's not right or it's not wrong. And I know that she loved him and was feeling sad, and I just showed it on my face more, and that's okay.
Okay. Well, let's liven it up a little bit.
All right, let's do it.
I have never done this, but y'all, this is a new little segment thing. I don't even know that it'll ever be done again, but I was like, this is so apropos, right? This is really, really good. So we're going to play a game called Forgive or Forget, okay? So I'm going to give you some scenarios, and I'm going to try not to give you mine first.
Okay. I was going to say, should I be answering as myself, as a human, or as a therapist?
As a human and a therapist.
Okay,
I mean, because you are a therapist. You are smart, right? Like, you're going to answer the right way. Okay. But truthfully. Okay. So, whatever that means. You know what I'm trying to say here. All right. So, your best friend, okay? They borrow $500 and they forget. I mean, $500 and they forget to repay you. Are we going to forgive or are we going to forget them?
I'm going to say, I'm going to try to have a direct conversation, but then I'm going to forget.
Okay. So, do you say, give my money?
Yeah, I'm going to say, listen, what's going on? Where's my money? If they've got stuff going on and they can be upfront and honest with me, I might be able to just forgive and say, okay. If they're kicking it down the line and they're just always forgetting, even though they're saying no.
I like that. I mean, because especially nowadays, I mean, eggs are like $500.
Oh my gosh, I just spent $8.50. I was like, what in the world?
All right, here's a better one. Your friend starts dating one of your exes.
Done.
You unfriend immediately. It's over. All right. I'm guilty of this. Your sibling re-gifts a Christmas present. Is that petty or purposeful?
This is pretty common in my family, so I'm gonna have to say forgive.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, this is my thing. I actually have a clothing company, right? Okay. Shop.callilives.com, y'all. So I sell clothes. I don't understand why my family, they give me purses, they give me shawls, they give me all types of apparel. I don't need this stuff, right? I mean, if you want to give me a $3,000 chinchilla or something, I'll keep that.
I'll do that. You can cover.
But these little things. So anyway, that was my little sidebar. Coworkers. Now, I haven't worked in the office in years, okay? But if a coworker eats your food for the third time, or even just uses your butter, you bring your butter to work, you set it there, and you're like, who keeps using my butter? Are we going to forgive or forget?
Oof, that's a tough one. I feel like I land in the middle. I'm not necessarily gonna hold a grudge, but we're not gonna be that cool.
Yeah.
Because, after the third time, you're sending a bigger message there.
You just at some point put I don't know, tahini on the butter, put a little bit of food poisoning or something. You know what? Let's see what happens now. Let's see what happens now. Your partner cheats. Okay. Redemption or run.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think if you get the sense that they are truly remorseful and they're willing to put in a ton of work, because that's what it's going to take, it could be worth trying. Yeah. But it's one of those things where how long are you going to stay in it if you're not seeing the work? And
what does it mean when people like me say, well, cheating isn't a deal breaker? Is that fake or...
I think it depends on the circumstances, how long you've been in the relationship, how has the relationship been. Otherwise, are you married with kids and a family? Your lives are so intertwined that sounds terrible too.
Yeah, right.
Untangle all of that.
Yeah.
I don't think that it necessarily has to be a deal breaker, but I think the other person or both people have to be willing to try to improve things.
Yeah. Neighbor. Lawnmower is broken. You just gave it to them yesterday. They bring it back like everything's all good. Grace or grudge?
It's going to be a little bit of a grudge. That's expensive.
I know. It's like your neighbors. You want to be neighborly, but sometimes people just take it too far.
All of my answers feel like the first thing is ask them, see if they can own up or respond in some positive way. If not, that's
so
something.
Many people do things though, and they try to just kind of cover it
deny.
Let's see if they mention it first.
Fair.
All right, RSVP +1 to your wedding. This is a friend. And they completely bail on you. They don't say anything the day before. They just don't show up. Are we gonna forgive them, or at least send them the invoice, right?
That's a tough one. I get all, you know what my mind keeps going to? Like, it says more. Like, it says more. It's not just about, like, the thing that happened. It says, like, they respect me. Like, they're not thinking about it. Like, they're only thinking about themselves. Unless there's, like, super good reason. I don't know. There's going to be some distance. Maybe not forget. We're gonna start taking our distance.
So I have a little mini story with this.
Okay.
Right during the heat of COVID, right? Or I guess right before the second batch. What was that? Omicron, or I don't know, something like that. It was like the second big round. I missed it the first round, but I had a friend who was getting married in Fort Lauderdale, and I literally was like, we got to go to this girl's wedding because, you know, it was a weird situation, and she didn't invite a lot of her friends. And anyway, so I told my partner, I said, we've got to go to this wedding. And we were scheduled for a 25-day trip to Africa on, let's just say, December 25th or something, or the 24th. And this wedding was like the 20th. Okay. So we had to run down, and we did. We just ran down and we came right back. Of course, I come back. I take my test before we have to fly. I have it, right? No. I have COVID. We got to cancel our whole trip, right? But the minute that I have it, I call her and I say, listen, and I wasn't even blaming her. I mean, it happened. Right. But I call and I say, you know, you got to let your people know that I contracted COVID, you know, so just in case anyone, you know, just let them know. She was like, no, not doing that. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, and I don't know why I really held a grudge against her, because I'm like, that was selfish. Like, why wouldn't you let your guests know that someone contracted COVID? It was almost like she was embarrassed that someone. Right,
she didn't want her to be.
But I was on a plane, you know. But it could have been anywhere. It doesn't mean that I caught it at her wedding. Right. But I was like, you know, I don't know. Just, you know, these are, and I told her, I said, these are the people that I was speaking with. You know, these are people that I actually had long conversations with. I at least let them know. And she was like, no. Was that petty of me to?
I bet you're right, but there was probably some feelings of like embarrassment or like it's not a big deal, but it could have been a big deal for some people.
I think it was a big deal. All right, last one, and this is for Philly. Okay. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Do you bless them or do you buckle up? Right? Like, we're going on a ride, girl. We're going to go get them. Like, what do you do?
All right. I'm more of a bless them because that, and my partner's got the road rage. So I know what that feels like. I'm like, why are you getting so mad? Like, you are going to carry that with you now. And now you're screaming at this bird, you're screaming, you got your short. So I'm going to say, let it go. Now, I also live out in the suburbs, so I don't have to deal with such crazy driving all the time. I might feel differently if I was closer to the city.
I mean, I don't know. See, I think I bless them, and I think in the city, I double bless them. Because
they have to deal with it all the time.
People will get out the car and shoot you, okay? Like, I mean, there was a thing not too far from here on Westchester Pike, and it was like the woman did, you know, whatever, and the man got mad, and he literally got out the car and shot through her windshield. I mean, luckily she wasn't hurt, but I'm like, road rage is really real, so I'm like, God bless you.
About the times I accidentally cut somebody off when I don't mean to. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, it's not always so intentional.
It's really not. I mean, I feel like most of the time it's not. I mean, sometimes you're like, oh, dang, I just did that, you know, but you don't really do it all the time, right? So forgiveness is definitely often framed as something that we do for others, right? It's an act of self-love, you know, holding on to the resentment. It just takes up all of this energy and all of this space. Practicing self-love.
My favorite.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Like, what do we do to love ourselves more throughout this process? Because it's hard, and there's a lot of shame and guilt even once you actually forgive, right?
Right. I think, you know, one of the biggest things, the acts of self-love that I can think of now is knowing what you want and what you need. Like, a lot of people don't know that. They're not even in touch with that to give themselves that. So I think knowing what you want and what you need, and then taking that into consideration. It doesn't mean you're going through the world like not giving a crap about anybody else, but you're considering their wants and needs with your wants and needs. And a lot of times you do come first, and that's not selfish, because you need to build yourself up so that you can be in good relationships. You can do for other people. You can be a light for other people. You can't do that well when you're not taking care of yourself.
Oh, that I do agree with. So when we love ourselves so much and we're all over it, the same thing we were talking about earlier a little bit, people that just forgive like so quickly. You say you don't trust them, right? But there are some people that I don't have time to hold a grudge against you. You know, and I think like once I kind of got to the space with it was a journey. So it was not immediate where I was like, I forgive my uncle, you know? But once I got to a space, I was like, yeah, I forgive him because I don't care. Like it was really me trying to get through my forgiving my own self because I waited so long to tell. And, you know, then you look at, oh my gosh, he has daughters. Oh my gosh, like, you know, did this happen? Could I have stopped this? And then you talk to your family members and they're like, oh, he did it to me. You know, and you're just like, okay, where could I have stopped it? And so I end up with that, not necessarily shame, but guilt, you know, where it's like, dang, if I would have just said it. So me forgiving myself, and it goes back to the self-love thing. But, you know, when we do forgive so easily, what should we really be doing? Like, should we?
Yeah. So, and I think, you know, to your point, there might be sometimes where it's not worth it, or you can see, like, you're not bothered by it, like truly not bothered by it. It is not taking up space in your head, in your heart, in your body. That's different. That I think is true forgiveness, or, you know, that's not penetrating because you love yourself so much, because you know your worth. I think the people that forgive too easily, in a sense when it's not as good, they're not paying attention to what's going on. Their body's screaming at them that this is not okay. I don't feel good. It is living in my head. I'm trying to not look at this. That's different.
Okay.
That's more like the shove it down.
Better.
Yeah, you might be in a place where, you know what, like, I have built myself. I have done so much work that I know that's about them. I know it's not about me. And I'm going to bless them and move on.
I do have something else that I haven't done before, y'all. Someone from the audience, right? I kind of like put out a quick little poll, like, you know, send me some questions or whatever, right? Let's see how this goes. So I got one that's kind of good. Okay, kind of good. Well, it is good, not kind of good. All right, not going to say who you are. Facebook, she says, I've spent years trying to win my mother's approval, but no matter what I do, she always finds a way to criticize or belittle me. I know people experiencing this. I know she has her own unresolved wounds, but the constant emotional manipulation is exhausting. How do I forgive while protecting my peace?
Got a little, like, I can feel that one because this is so much of the work that I do. And it's so hard because that longing is probably always going to be there for your mother. And we're wired that way. But I think the more in touch you can be with how sad that is and how that's affected your life, and allow the space to acknowledge that, it allows you to get to a place where, like, you see your mom for what she's able to do and we're not do. She probably doesn't have the capabilities, especially if you're aware of her past, but it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't mean you have to put up with it or endure it. I think getting to a place where you can say, like, how do I limit my exposure to this? How do I be real? Like, I'm not going to get, I want it, and I know I'm not going to get that from her. That's sad. I have to grieve that. But I also don't have to expose myself to her belittling me, manipulating me. And this looks different for everybody. I think there are some people who are like, you know what, I have to, like, cut all ties. And there are other people who say, I could never do that. Like, the guilt would eat me alive. So whatever your process is, that's okay. But what's one thing that you can do? So for some people, it starts with, like, I don't have to pick up the phone every time she calls.
My mom would kill me if I didn't pick up the phone when she called. If I don't pick up my phone, my mom literally calls him, her. She don't call you. Like, I think you were meeting with my daughter today. So yeah, I mean, I could imagine those are some of the things you could do. It's crazy. I'm blessed. My mom is amazing. But I do know people that struggle with this. And like you said, I know people that go the route where there is no gray area. They have to cut off. And then I know the people that they cut off for the most part, but then they try to, you know, get back in there where they can. But every time they get back in there, it's just like, bam, you know, and I'm like, I feel bad for them because I'm like, wow, you know, and then I see people that just keep going in that loop, and I'm like, girl, leave her alone. Stop talking to the mom.
It's so hard, and people who haven't experienced it, like, just get something, like, can't even understand, like, how would you not talk to your mom or talk to your, like, how would you cut them off? And when you're constantly being targeted or, you know, being put down or whatever it is, like, that pain is so great that it's like, yes, it's sad not to be in contact, but it's worse to be in contact and have them constantly put me down.
I mean, I think it's, you know, similarly to just like a relationship that you
really
need to, you know, like an intimate relationship that you need to get out of, you know. We were just talking the other day, and it's like, you know, don't take the call. They start yelling, hang up. You know, just don't subject yourself to harmful behavior, right? I mean, no matter who it comes from, do not subject yourself to harmful behavior. And that is part of the forgiveness process, right?
And I honestly, I find that a lot of people, they want to have the conversation. You can't talk to this. You can't do this. You over and over and over and over again. And when you start doing exactly what you said, when you said they're yelling at, when they start going at you at like Christmas dinner and you leave, that's when they start to get the message. And if change is going to happen, that's what's going to make change happen.
And that is hard for me to do.
It is. It takes practice and like baby steps.
For me, I'm like the nice person. I'm like, that's so rude. But I feel like I should just get up right now. And like I hear it in my head when it's happening. I'm like, I should just get up right now. I should just get up right now. But I'm like, that's going to make it worse. It's going to be rude. They're going to say something worse. And so I kind of sit there and then I endure it, you know, and then I'm like, next time.
You know what? And that's the process sometimes. That is I've had that too. And I'm like, I should be doing X, Y, and Z. And that's what I said I was going to do. But I'm sitting here not doing that thing that I said I was going to do. But like your awareness of it is a step in it. And you reflect on it later, talk it through with the therapist, and come up with a plan for how you could do it differently next time if you want to. It's all part of the process.
Yes, it is, Adrianne. Listen. One word. I know this went so fast, right?
It did.
One word. If we're going to sum up, you know, the need or the desire to forgive, and forget, so to speak, or not forget, reconcile, or you know, whatever. I'm not even going to throw out any more words because I want you to give me a word. One word for our audience to kind of take and just reflect, journal on, somewhere to start, somewhere to begin for the next week or what have you.
Compassion for the other person and for yourself, because the example that you shared was so beautiful. When we get hurt, so many times we turn it, what did we do wrong? We could have done something different. We somehow caused this. We somehow deserved it. The thoughts can be endless because it feels like if we could have done something, we were somehow in control of it. And sometimes really bad stuff just happens. And people hurt us for no good reason. Most of the time, there's no good reason to be hurting other people.
You'd be like, why, God?
So to be able to build that compassion for the other person, it's not always possible, but I think most times it's possible to get to that place. But really to have compassion for yourself and all of that is so healing.
I like that. I mean, the idea of just having the compassion, I really like that because, you know, one of the things that, you know, even what I just said, you know, why does this happen? Or why did this person do this? You know, I always tell my girlfriends when they're like, you know, but why? I'm like, you can tell someone else, but when it's you, it's kind of hard. But it's like, you know, why ask why? Like, why is so irrelevant.
There's no good answer.
There's no good answer. Anything that they say, it doesn't make sense to you, right?
It's not going to take it away.
And it's not going to change anything. It's not going to take any pain away. It really doesn't matter why. And I think society kind of just puts us in that space where we need to know the motive, you know, like in the investigation, right? We need to know the motive. If we know why they did it, we'll know who did it and what, you know. No, you don't need to know why, honestly. I mean, it's cool if you know, but it's not going to change, and it might even make it worse sometimes, you know, because then, like we said, we're kind of fighting with, well, that's dumb, you know, well, I didn't really do that, or misinterpretation and all these things. So I think what you said, the compassion, because to me that goes with consideration, right? And just having the compassion to just say, you know what, the grace, it happened, let's move forward if we can, and just kind of love them regardless. And that's hard, right? It's hard, I'm going through a breakup right now. It's
Okay.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And, you know, when we go through breakups and stuff, we, you know, and just having to forgive in general. I don't want to make this about me. I always do, though, y'all. So, listen.
It's your podcast.
It's my podcast. I can do what I want. But, no, seriously, one song. Because as I was doing this, I was like, man, all these breakup songs, all these forgiveness and forget. One song, and this is new again, but I thought this was so perfect for this. Like, if you could come up with one song to just kind of, in any type of journey for forgiveness, right? Like, what would you say?
Okay. So I was thinking about this last night, and I was going to go, like, just to Google some songs, and then one popped into my head, and it's going to, I'm not a Swiftie, but I am a Taylor Swift fan.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie. One of her
Say
older
it again
songs,
so we can get some more hits.
one of her older songs, White Horse.
Okay.
I love that song because the message to me, what I've taken away from it, is that someone wrongs you. Someone's not treating you the way that you deserve. By the time they come back around, you have loved yourself so much that you are like, it is too late and I am too big for this. Like, what I thought I needed, I don't need, because I have filled myself up and I love myself too much to go back into somebody who did not love and appreciate and treat me well.
I love that. Now I have to go and listen to
Yes,
this.
it's one of her like first or second albums. I just remember like jamming out to
White
it. Like,
Horse. I'm going to check that one out.
Yes.
I have one. It's like the anthem for all forgiveness. If you know, you know. And this is Erykah Badu's Bag Lady. A bag lady.
Yeah.
You gon' hurt your back. You know, it's like, let it go, but in a way where the lyrics are just like, girl, you got to pack light.
Yeah.
Hold on to something that you need. I get it, but you got to let this stuff go because it is really hurting you.
Right.
You know, and yeah, that song just, to me, it is just like everything that you, I mean, because this isn't going to be the first or the last, you know, time that you have to forgive somebody. You cannot hold on to every single hurt. I mean, I joke around when I tell them, I'm like, yo, I don't think I've been in a relationship where someone didn't cheat on me. I'm like, you know, you just get to a point where it's like, whatever, you know, you gotta let it go. Elsa, right? Frozen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a point, like you can let it go so you're not carrying it, but like, what are you learning from it? You know, that's the way that I look at it. And you're all like, we're always going to get hurt. Like, humans are imperfect. We're always going to be hurting and getting hurt. Yeah. How do we reconcile? How do we move on? How do we forgive and accept it and all of that? And there's got to be action behind the words.
Action. And so you said learning also. I want to do a call to action because I want you guys to do something in a second. But learning, if you had to think of all of your, you know, how long have you been doing therapy?
Oh my gosh, 2014.
Okay.
So 11 years.
11 years. So 11 years of your journey, you know, helping people navigate all of these, you know, traumas and what have you. What is the one thing that you have learned, just specifically though, about forgiveness and just the freedom that comes with it, so to speak?
The more you can allow yourself to feel all of the emotions that come with whatever's happened, the quicker you'll get to forgiveness.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sit with it for a minute. Let it go as quickly as you can, though, because that's where the good soil.
Yes.
That's where the good soil is coming. Adrianne, tell everyone where they can find you. How can they get in touch with you? Gosh, she's amazing, y'all.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm on Instagram, Adrianne Wagner, LMFT.com. No, that's my website. But my Instagram is the same, Adrianne Wagner, LMFT.
Okay. Y'all, listen. Today's episode resonated with you. Just drop us a message, a DM, respond. Look, answer the polls on Instagram.
This is so fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Listen, it's always fun with Allie. Right? So, listen, our next series that we're going to jump into, y'all, clutter. We have to get rid of the clutter, okay? So we're going to go from hoarding to healing.
I will be tuning in for that.
Yes, there will be some more transformational conversations. You know, we just want to help, as much as possible, just navigate this crazy world that we're living in. Just give some sense of balance, like I said, through faith and wisdom, of course. We got to bring our Bible and bring our toolbox with us to help us. But I love you all so much for tuning in. I do. I love you, and I mean it. And I hope to see y'all next time. And that's what we got. All right. Thanks so much,
Thank
Adrianne.
you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.